What's going on, world? Once again, it's your boy, Derek Dunn, back with another edition of the interview for Reviews and Dunn. My guest today is my man, Michael Keith, from legendary group 112. 112 has given us so many hits, from Only You to Anywhere to Peaches and Cream to Hot and Wet to You Already Know to most recently Dangerous Games. Mike also dabbled in acting, and he's also released a solo album in his career. But we're going to get into all that. So to the line, I want everyone to give it up for Mr. Michael Keith of 112. How you doing today, sir?
How's it going, brother? How's it going? Glad to be here.
Good. Blessed, man. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I'm excited that I got you on the line. So let's go ahead and chop it up. Who were your early musical inspirations growing up?
My musical inspirations, man. Initially, it started with my mother. You know, I got my gift of song and vocal ability from my mother's side of the family, I would like to believe. And she would always sing to us, you know what I mean? So it was one of those things that just was instilled in my genome, in my DNA, you know, as it was. So I would say that she was my first influence as far as music was concerned. And, we were very heavily deep-rooted. You know, we're from the South, so we're definitely deep-rooted in Southern gospel music and just gospel music in general. And that's what I grew up listening to. So when I understood what music really was about, you know, it was the gospel music, and it was the whinings and commissioned and take six. And but aside from that, on the secular side, you would have the Michael Jacksons, the Stevie Wonders, the Donny Hathaways, if you will. Those were like my musical influence. Michael Jackson being like an overall entertainer. Like, the reason why I'm named Michael is because of Michael Jackson. That's how much of an impact he had on my mother. So that was something that I take to heart and know that my namesake is because of Michael Jackson. And but yeah, man, my musical influences started out initially with my mother, and then they started out in the gospel world, and they transpired to where one of my best friends at the time introduced me to Nirvana in '91, and from that point on, my musical vocabulary just exploded because I wasn't really into rock music at that time. I knew that there was something missing in my repertoire, and he introduced me to Nirvana, and from that point on, my mind just opened up to different influences and different music, and it's been a whirlwind ever since. My gospel background, my mother, rock came from my best friend, and my operatic background came from my music teacher, my high school music teacher. She heard me singing a Bugs Bunny cartoon, and I don't know if you remember those, but it was a few episodes where they're singing operatic and whatnot, and I'm passing by her room singing one of these Bugs Bunny songs, and she was like, "Which one of y'all was that?" And I was like, "Yo, it was me. Like, what was wrong?" And she's like, "You're my new operatic singer," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," but that was one of the influences as well. So it's a culmination, man, of just people and influences, and a lot of times people didn't even know how they were influencing my life musically, man, but they were. And so I would say that those are the three that just pops out in my head.
Before 112, you were with a group named Forte. What led to the formation of the four-man 112 that we all came to know and love?
Well, the Forte was, and it's an acronym for Forever En Route to Excellence. We chose not to use that name because at the time, Rapping Forte was out in California. He was, really big at the time, so we didn't want to confuse the two, groups with the two acts, rather. So we wanted to change the name, and we wanted to be synonymous with 112. The reason why there's a four-man group is because initially there was a five-man group. Forte was a five-man group. And two of the guys were way older than Slim, Deron, and myself. They couldn't wait on the deal from Puff. You know, it was like years, and maybe we had at least another 2-3 years before we even met Puff. And these guys were graduating high school, and they couldn't keep doing what they were doing and still be able to, I guess, survive and live at home because these are grown men now. So they went off into the military. So we had to find another member, and that's where Q Parker came in, who also went to the same high schools as the rest of us. And that's how the four-man group evolved and became the version of 112 that everybody is familiar with.
I first became aware of your music with the Tim Kelly and Bob Robinson produced Making Love from the Money Train soundtrack. How old were you all when you recorded that song?
How old were we? I know I was 19. I was 19. Yeah, for the majority's sake, I was 19, and I think somebody else was 21, I believe. Yeah. 3 of us was 19, and I think Slim was 21.
Yeah, classic joint. That was one of those secret weapons back in middle school.
Yeah, man. It really, our whole mission when we first signed the Bad Boy was to show the world that we were the first and only four-man group that all 4 members could sing lead, right? So the mentality was when we create these songs, and Tim and Bob understood that format, and they were the ones that was instrumental in helping us create that format where, you know, we highlight the fact that all 4 of us could sing, you know, just like a commission, just like a take 6, whatever. So, that was going to be our calling card. Obviously, that didn't happen. When we got with Puff, it was like, yo, Slim is going to sing leads, and, you know, you guys can, you know, get in where you fit in, but for the most part, the identifying voice is going to be Slim. Understood, move forward, no problem. But Tim and Bob understood and wanted us to highlight the fact that all 4 of us could sing, and that's where, you know, this Making Love record has all of our voices on it. You know what I mean? And that's what we wanted to portray. And anytime that we do records with Tim and Bob, they tried that the mission is to highlight all, you know, 4 voices at the time. So that was the goal, man, and I think we accomplished that with this record.
August 27, 1996, you all released your self-titled debut, led by the single Only You. What do you remember about meeting Biggie and hanging out with Big?
Well, we met and knew Big a year prior to the album coming out, the album's release. And working with him was something that I treasure most, you know, because of the fact that he's gone, and people did not get an opportunity outside of his circle to realize just how brilliant this man really was. He never wrote anything down, and I think he was like one of the innovators of that. And it was just amazing to me to see the genius on how this man operated. Like he didn't write anything down. He just observed, and what he observed, he turned into a story. And he's a true orator. You know what I mean? Like he's a true orator, rather. And it was just an amazing experience to be with this dude. And a lot of things. And whenever I get an opportunity to speak about Big, I want to highlight the fact that yes, his persona in the public eye was to be of a gangster, and you know that it obviously it worked. However, he was one of the nicest dudes that you'll ever meet, one of the funniest dudes you'll ever meet. You know, he was a real dude, man, and it was just tragic, and it's really sad and tragic that this man lost his life at 24 years of age. You know what I mean? So, we honor him by talking about all the good that he did. And, you know, the man, was he perfect? No, nobody is. But at the same time, a lot of us, especially in the African-American community, with a focus on the black male, we tend to get pigeonholed into this negative connotation in the media. And so it's my job and my opportunity while I have a voice to speak on that, especially for someone who's, going on to glory, and just to let people know, like, what he truly was like. And the Big that I knew was fun-loving. He was a family man. He was a good man. And he'll be missed.
The first album was very ballad-heavy, and as a Flow Jam cat, I appreciated that.
Nice.
One of my favorite album tracks was I Will Be There. What was the inspiration for that song from a writing standpoint?
We, like you said, we were very ballad heavy, which is crazy because the world knows us for the majority's sake our up tempos. Our Dance With Me, It's Over Now, Peaches and Creams, yada yada yada, Only You. But that album was very. It was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of album because people, when they first got it, it was off of Only You. They thought that they were gonna get an album full of up-tempo club records, and when they were like, "Yo, what is this?" But then once they listened to it again, it's like, "Oh, okay." So I was in the wrong frame of mind when I popped this album in. I thought I was gonna party. Yeah, they got a couple of party records on there, but this is a ballad-heavy record. So I Will Be There was just in the mind frame of we need to solidify ourselves as this generation's Boyz II Men, this generation's Jodeci, and the way that you do that, yeah, you can do up-tempo records, and that's going to get you in the clubs, but those ballads were records that's going to keep you in the hearts and minds of people, and I Will Be There is just one of those records where, we were dating at the time, and our girlfriends, long-distance relationship, they were back in Atlanta, we were in New York, and we had a few of us had arguments and discussions with, said girlfriends at the time about being there. You know what I mean? And we wanted to write that record to assure them that despite what's going on, that of course it didn't happen, but despite what was going on, we was gonna be there for them and stuff, man. So, that was a naivete on our part, thinking that we were gonna be able to maintain those kind of relationships at 19 years of age with the future in front of us, and all that comes with it. But at the time we felt like we were doing the right thing, and that record was just a testimony to what we were feeling at the time. Our intent was to stay humble and stay true to the girl, and and so that's why we wrote that record.
The debut goes double platinum, and you all rush right into touring. I can remember you guys being like on a year-long promo tour. One of the groups you all toured during that time was New Edition during the second leg of the Home Again tour. Did you ever get a chance to meet Brooke Payne, the group's manager and choreographer, to receive some dancing tips?
We didn't receive any dancing tips from Brooke at that time. However, in '98, when we started working on the second album, the second album was already done, and we were working on putting choreography to Anywhere, and that's when we met Brooke Payne, and it was one of the best and the worst experiences that I ever had in my life, man. For the simple fact that I never worked as hard in choreography as I did when we first met Brooke Payne, man. Thank God for me being in my 20s at the time, because 40-year-old Michael wouldn't be able to do it, because he worked us. He has this thing that's called Capital, where, now keep in mind, you're wearing dress shoes and you're wearing weights on your legs, and you have to do this thing called Capital, where you stand in front of a mirror, and you gotta basically you're doing like kicks, you know what I mean? You're basically doing kicks, and and you have to do it as a unit, and you have to be simultaneous with it, and no extra steps, and your thumbs had to be in. But throughout all of that, man, it was a boot camp. I won't sugarcoat anything about that, man. It was a boot camp. It was rough. It was something else, man. But it made us want to be better than everybody else, because everybody saw the potential that 112 had. Like, we had potential to be a New Edition kind of group, a Boyz II Men kind of group, a Jodeci kind of group, and what was going to separate us from everybody else was the choreography, in addition to the vocals and stuff, man. So we wanted to make sure that we put together a show, and Brooke Payne was that guy. And so we did meet him initially on the Home Again tour, but once we did finally sit down and meet with him, it was the best experience, and it ignited a fire inside of us to want to be, just more than singers. We wanted to be entertainers, and simultaneously, it was like one of the hardest things I ever did in my life.
You all dropped Room 112 in the fall of '98, which featured the singles "Love Me," "Anywhere," "Love You Like I Did," and "Your Letter." Diane Warren, legendary songwriter, wrote Your Letter. What were your initial thoughts when you first heard that song?
Initially, I thought that we were going too pop. I thought that we were abandoning our urban fan base. So I was one of the ones that actually preferred "Love You Like I Did" over "Your Letter." After we did "Your Letter" and I listened to it, I realized how much of a mistake I had made as far as doubting this record. Now, I still love You Like I Did over Your Letter, but I understood the impact that Your Letter was going to, create if we had done it the right way. So, with that being said, Your Letter was a record that, I rarely miss on records that that are 112 records, because I it's about feeling with me. You know what I mean? So it has to feel good for me to enjoy it. And I missed the boat on Your Letter initially. But once we recorded the record and we sat with Diane Warren, she told us what her vision was, and we spoke to Clive Davis, and he told us what his vision was, and we went out to Moab, Utah, and shot the video, and I saw the beauty that this record was about to create. It was just an amazing experience, man. And like I said, I will admit, humbly, I will admit that I was wrong on that record.
Yeah, it's definitely just from a consumer standpoint, I can see it as a pop record. I mean, how you guys sing it still have that R&B feel to it, because it's the last song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything is straight R&B, everything is straight soul, and then you go right into something made for pop radio for the last song. Right. But y'all played it though.
Right. No, you can tell me I was wrong. You can tell me I was wrong. It's cool.
3 years later, Part 3 arrives, which everyone knows features a smash, Peaches and Cream, Dance With Me, It's Over Now. However, like your first two albums, Part 3 features some top-notch album tracks. What was your favorite non-single from Part 3?
I have two. It's actually I have three, and if you don't mind me saying, it's Player, Missing You, and Don't Hate Me. Player, obviously, because I get to sing on that one, man, and one of the things that we wanted to highlight on Part 3 was all of our vocal abilities, and Player was one of those records that did it for me. I was able to pretty much get my rocks off, man, and just really let go. And as far as I knew at the time, like my musical vocabulary at that time for what it was, I was able to let go and just be free and just sing how I wanted to sing. It wasn't about a single. It wasn't about what radio was going to play. Like, I didn't even care. Like, I was just going, and it became a fan favorite to this day. Like, I still perform that record. That's like one of the most requested songs that is not a single, on our show. So to this day we perform that record, and it's not even a single. Missing You, because that was like that basically was my first solo record. For my whole career. Like, that was my first, entire record where it was just me. Like, Duran sang on the end, but for the most part, it was the verses and the bridge and all that stuff. That was my influence, my energy. my interpretation of what the song truly meant. So I was really proud of the work on that record. And Don't Hate Me I love that record because we really didn't care on that record. We was just like, man, we gonna go, man. We gonna show our Southern roots, and because the record itself dictated that it sounds something like 8 Ball and MJG would rap on, and we love that, man. And the fact that Slim came in and it sounded like one of them Bone Thugs and Harmony dudes, and on that second verse, and I was just really, amazed at our ability to make things happen, man. Because a lot of people were just doubting our ability to make something happen. They thought that it was just Puff and his influence and his ability to just make things happen, and we were just sitting around waiting on him to give us a hit. When in fact it was a culmination of him and us putting this vision together, and the fact that we did this, it was like I knew initially it was something that he wasn't really gonna, appreciate at first until it was done. You know what I mean? And once it was done and we submitted it, people were like, yo, these dudes are on a whole nother level right now, man. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, I got to say my album track in part 3, personal, highest withstanding was the R. Kelly penned Do What You Got to Do.
Yeah.
I actually had to repeat in my single day because I was dealing with one young lady at the time. She kind of did me dirty, and then I moved on to somebody else. So, yeah, that was the theme song at that time. And I also think part 3, I remember the promo for me at that time. I would always say, like, all right, 112 is here. They're making these hits, but part 3 is going to be the joint to really push them into the mainstream to where they can compete with Boyz II Men's, Jodeci. I mean, really be that iconic group right now at that time. I had part 3 being like you guys' heartbreak album for New Edition. Just you finally, you mature, you're rocking the suits, you're fully there.
Mm-hmm.
So in support of part 3, you all toured with Janet Jackson on her All For You tour. How often would the group just stand out and watch Miss Jackson stage show?
I watched it once. Slim would watch it more than I think Slim watched it more than anybody. I think Slim and Q watched it more than anyone. My whole mind frame was once I watched it the one time, I wanted the memories that I had right there. I want them to stay there, man. So I don't want to see anything else that's going to deviate from that. So if it was a misstep or anything like that or whatever, like I didn't want that to take away from the experience that I had. I know it's a little crazy, man, but that's how my mind works sometimes, man. But I watched it in its entirety once, and I was just blown away by how awesome and how hard working Janet was, even at the time, man. It was surreal to be in her presence, bro. Like she was the most humble, most beautiful, but she got on that stage and was a monster. You know what I mean? She just, her energy was just infectious, and the production and just overall how they did things. And what we took away from that was, okay, this is how shows are supposed to go. This is how a major production is supposed to go, and not necessarily financially, because of course if you put enough money behind anything, you can make it into something. But her professionalism, always being on time, working hard, never, even if she was sick, I didn't know, bro, because she gave it every night from what I was told, man. And and what I loved about it most was the fact that she came out and actually watched our shows, like damn near every night. She came out, and her crew of dancers, they came out and they watched the show as well. So I was really happy about that. So, but yeah, like I said, Slim actually watched it a little bit more than the rest of us. I watched it once, I think. Yeah.
I can remember being in basic training for the Air Force in the fall of 2003. Anxiously awaiting the release of the Hot and Wet album. There were talks of a joint tour with Jagged Edge around that time, kind of like a Battle of the Bands type of thing. Why didn't that pan out?
Because prior to Hot and Wet, we had a falling out with Jagged Edge. You know, we had a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, if you will, and it quote unquote started the R&B beef, if you will, with Jagged. And it was the goal at the time was to quote unquote create a rivalry, not necessarily a beef, but a rivalry between the two Atlanta groups for supremacy, you know, basically, and to create enough buzz to where people would want to come out and see who would win against a Jagged Edge and a 112. Why it did not work outside of that, you would have to ask, you know, Jagged as well, and the reason why, you know, that didn't go down the way it did, other than the fact that we were quote unquote beefing with each other, and it just never transpired. However, 3 years ago, management, Greg Browning, came up with the idea of revisiting this whole Jagged Edge 112 tour. And we were able to go on the 90s Block Party tour with Teddy Riley with what we call the experience, where Jagged Edge and 112 get on stage at the same time and pretty much meld the two shows together to form one big show. So that was something never seen before, with the exception of the Temptations and the Four Tops. And they did it once. We actually went on a tour with it. And, you know, it was something very special.
So 2005, you guys dropped Pleasure and Playing. The singles on that one were You Already Know and What If. The video for What If featured you as the lead character. Did that experience prepare you for the acting you would later do on the films At Ma's Feet and Closet Space?
Absolutely. I want to shout out Tracy Moore Marable for preparing me for my role in What If, and because it was actually a competition between the four of us. Well, three of us, because Deron didn't want to do it. And we were in LA, and we were in a hotel, and she met us, and immediately she looked at me, and I guess because the way that I came in and spoke to everybody, and she just seen my energy and was like, "You're gonna be my lead." She pulled me to the side, like I had no reservation whatsoever that you were gonna be the lead guy. I was like, "Really? Why?" Is it like your energy is just you have an energy and a charisma about you. So I was like, "All right, cool," you know. But yeah, it was an experience to pretty much beat out everybody and to be vulnerable, man. It was just you had to open yourself. Acting is about opening yourself up, man. And at that time, that was something that I was not prepared to do, and she, you know, helped to bring that out of me. And I was more than gracious, you know, or grateful rather, for her to do that as well, man. But it definitely prepared me for At Mahmoud's Feet and Closet Space, man, because those experiences, man, was something that I didn't see at all, man. Like, I had 112 with me on that What If, you know what I mean? I had 3 other guys, you know, being supportive. With Closet Space and At Mahmoud, I had to go down to Louisiana for At Mahmoud's Feet, and I was there by myself, man. Like, no representation, no nothing. It was just me and the script and the other actors, and they basically, it was a trial by fire. Like, they threw me in the fire, like, all right, here go your lines, let's go. and it was scary, it was awesome, all at the same time. But we pulled it off, and you know, I'm better off for it. You know what I mean? In Closet Space, at that point, after I had Mahmoud's Feet under my belt, I'm like, okay, I understand the chops. I got my chops now. You know what I mean? So the Closet Space was a lot easier to do. But it was still just, it was an experience, man, and I thank God for all of it, man. I wish I could do more.
Following the Pleasure and Pain album, the group focuses on solo projects. You released your solo underrated solo debut in 2008. Did you have a chance to sign with a major label, or did you want to stay independent?
Well, the goal was to find a major, because the independent wasn't what it is nowadays. It almost makes sense for you to do it independently now versus 2008, where it was just starting, where it made sense to go independent. The reason why we went independent is because no major was knocking at the door. Like they didn't believe in it. So it was, that was humbling, because you realize that, yeah, your success, it opens doors, but only with a caveat. It was, well, I always got, well, what's going on with the group, man? Can we sign them? And it's like, hello, solo project, and it was their nicest way possible of saying that we don't believe in you. We know what 112 can do, but we don't necessarily believe in what you can do as a solo artist. So we're not going to put any money behind it. So it was, that was humbling. That was something that I had to self-reflect on, man, and figure out. I'm like, okay, so is my whole career going to be predicated on the fact that I'm with these other three guys? And if not, then, am I a failure? Am I a success? Yada, yada, yada. And, it was something that I really had to deal with, man. And, but I'm proud of that solo album. It was about my ex-fiancée at the time. She and I had got engaged, and 5 days later she had given me the ring back, and I had to write about it. I had to write about that whole scenario, about just being with her. So that whole album is about her, and just some of the stuff that we did, and a lot of that stuff is romanticized, of course, but for the most part, the album is about my relationship with her, and I'm proud for that, man. I was able to get that out. It was a catharsis, if you will, and I'm better off for it. But yeah, I'm proud of that album, man. I wish that more people heard it, and because it was definitely some really great music on that.
I own it, so you had a fan in me.
Nice.
So 2 songs from the debut solo album I want to talk about are "All on You" and "Father." Up first for "All on You," if you would have shot a video, what would the concept be?
Basically, the concept was, I was really in my R. Kelly phase at that point. That "All on You" was kind of my homage to the sound that R. Kelly had at the time, and it was basically the video would have been self-explanatory. Like, it would have been more like she pulling up to the brownstone, and me opening the door, and just giving her these instructions. But the twist of it is like I'm telling her what she should do, but then I'm also telling her, well, it's all on you. So, like, what do you want to do? So I'm giving her suggestions, but at the same time, I'm still wanting her to basically take the role of alpha at that time, and just hey, listen, I know this is your crib, I know you did all this, but let me do the work this time. Like, you gotten us this far, let me take it the rest of the way. And so yeah, the video concept about that would have been real self-explanatory, just us just exploring each other, if you will, and it would have been we would have done some flashbacks of us meeting each other and stuff like that, man. And I probably would have had like a performance scene where, either out in the street or parking lot or something like that, man. But it would have been dope. It would have been something really dope. I probably would have surprised her with a puppy or something at the end with a bow on it, some shit like that. It's something, what I mean? But it that was the overall gist of my visualization for doing that. Because I always visualize with every song that I do. Visually, how would this song come across? And that's all the while, like that's what I would come up with. And like I said, that's actually a real story. Like, I really wanted her to, come, and she was mad at me, and she didn't really want to come, and all this other stuff. And I finally had to convince her to, finally, come home, come over and stuff. And when she finally did, so yeah, that was a real incident that happened.
I personally want to thank you for writing the song Father. My absentee father passed away last year, and your song was one that I kept on repeat to help me cope. Is that based on personal experience?
That whole song is based on my relationship with my father. That whole that's a true song, man. Like that, like every part of it. The one thing that I like about that album is you got the truest sense. Like it was somewhat romanticized, but basically everything that I wrote about was based in truth. And Father was like that's a whole scenario. Like I remember the times when my father was not there, and me and my brother would be sitting, looking out the window, waiting on him to show up for my birthday or my brother's birthday at the time, and dude would never show up, and there was a lot of resentment and anger and all that stuff growing up. And then I got around 28 years of age, and I confronted him. And, well, it wasn't really a confrontation. It was more like it was a meeting of the minds. And I went up to his place of business with the intent on making it argumentative and combative. But when I got there, I looked at him and I said, I can't do it because this is my old man. I look just like him. I sound like him. I got a lot of his mannerisms, and and at that point, and there must be a God, man, because he knows when and where to do things, right? And that was, if I was younger and I had done it, I probably would have went the negative route. But the fact that I was close to 30 and had my own son at that point, and I realized how this road will keep you away from your loved ones, and me just going through that for myself, realizing that, it's not as black and white as, kids would like it to be. I realized that my father had faults just like everybody else, man, and he also needed sympathy and empathy like everybody else as well, man. So, again, nobody's perfect, and, and I'm not making an excuse for the dude, because, a lot of times he could have showed up when he didn't. But at the end of the day, I couldn't hold on to all that negative energy and still move forward. I could not evolve. I could not speak on being positive if I was still harboring these negative feelings towards my father, man. So I had to let all that go. And that's what I told him when I finally had a discussion with him, a talk with him, and I let him know, man, like, despite all of that stuff that went on in the past, you're my father, and I love you, and I forgive you for, everything that went down. And he and I cried, and, we embraced each other, man, and, and that was it.
The group never stopped touring throughout the release of all the solo material up until the reunion album, Q Mike Slim Deron in 2017. Do you feel the reunion reached its full potential?
Do I feel that Q Mike Slim Deron reached its potential? No, I do not, because I feel like with today's market, you have to have the visualization to be relevant. And the truth of the matter is, we were basing our promotional on a antiquated, archaic frame of mind, which was get it on radio, promote, and go from there, where we should have focused more so on the social media aspect of it and got on some television shows and, became these quote-unquote reality TV stars. I felt like that was something that was holding that project back. I believe that had we done that and there was some reluctance on a couple of us at the time, and it's fine. I disagreed with the frame of mind. I felt like we should have explored the social media, reality TV aspect of it, but I can't make a grown man do something that he doesn't want to do. So I feel like it was we missed out on that. So with that being said, I feel as though had we done that and became not even so much household name as far as the reality TV show was, but just to let the world know that we were just as relevant now as we were, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago at the time, then I think that would have definitely helped the promotion of Q Mike Slim Duran. But we weren't on the same page with that. A lot of us did not agree with the whole social media, reality TV aspect of it, and as a result of that, the relevance was not as high as it used to be, and as a result of that, the project suffered.
Good project, though.
It's right up there with my favorite albums. Like, my favorite albums are the first album, the third album, and Q Mike Slim Duran. Vocally, we were singing better than we've ever sung before, vocally. So, yeah.
The reunion album finally saw you all doing a duet with fellow ATL group Jagged Edge on Both of Us. How did the collaboration come about?
Well, that was by design as well. Previously, we spoke about the reason why we didn't tour, and I explained that now we have been touring with Jagged as the Experience for the past 3 years, and that was part of the plan. They wrote Both of Us, and the intent was for us to perform that record on the tour. We didn't have enough time to do it on the Teddy Riley 90s Block Party tour. However, had we done our Jagged Edge 112 tour, that was going to be a record that we sung, because the whole purpose of that record was to show everybody that as grown men we can come together, set our differences aside, come together, and create some music that Jagged Edge fans and 112 fans can appreciate and will want to come out and see. It's a great record. I love that record. It's one of my favorite records on the album. And I felt like had the situation not happened with the two guys leaving the group and going off and doing that thing, we would have toured and we would have performed that record, and it would have been super dope, and it would have highlighted the album, and because we had a plan for it to make it part of the ticket package and stuff. Like, you would get the ticket, you would get a CD, and it would count as a actual sale, and you would get the meet and greet, you would get the T-shirt, you would get the hat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we had a plan for it, man. We had a plan, and it got derailed. So, yeah. But yeah, that was definitely part of the whole Jagged Edge 112 coming together plan.
As of right now, 112 is just comprised of Slim and yourself. Do you all have plans of ever releasing a full-on album or an EP?
As a matter of fact, we're in the studio right now creating a new EP. We wanted to. We have attempted to create an EP last year, but the music was not. It didn't coincide with the vision that we had for this project. We wanted the music to be familiar with 112 fans, but also something new, innovative, and just overall a masterpiece of today's music versus the 90s music. Like, we understand the importance of having the cadences that this generation has now, but we also wanted to keep our roots firmly in position of where we're from as well. So it just seems so it will feel familiar, and it will seem genuine to people, and not just, oh, these dudes are just trying to come up with something because that's what the times call for and whatnot. So we've record it. We listen to it. Yeah, it sounds good, but it's too 112-ish. And then we'll hear another record. No, that's too far left. So I believe now we've found that medium between this new age sound and the old 112 sound. So I think we're in the right place right now to release this EP. I'm excited about this music. We were in the studio last night, as a matter of fact, and the records that we have now are just on a whole nother level, man. And I just can't wait for the world to really hear this music. We're definitely going the route of social media this time, and it's right now we get it, we understand it. Like those of us that are in the circle now understand that it's not trying to get your music put on radio. It's having a social media internet vibe to it. You know what I mean? And then from there, everything else will fall into place, i.e. radio, i.e. all this other stuff, man. But we have to create this buzz on this EP, man. So I'm excited about that.
I'm a big fan of biopics. Given the chance to portray any musical artist in a play or on film, who would you pick?
Donny Hathaway. My voice is similar to his, and he has a story that resonates with me, and there was actually an idea thrown out of me actually portraying him. I think it was between me and Anthony Hamilton, and I don't know how, it never really manifested, but the idea was thrown out. It was kicked around, but that was something that I was really excited to do, and the thing is, a lot of people don't realize who Donny Hathaway is and his impact on black music, and his fight with mental illness. So I would definitely have to go into myself, me being someone who actually has who seeks therapy on a Thursday. Every Thursday I have a therapist, and because mental health and mental wellness is something very important. And when we speak about it, we speak about it in terms of taboo. And I feel like we need to get rid of that stigma because especially with what's going on with today's world, man, we need mental health. And it's just as important as physical health and all these other things, man. So and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that I need help mentally with things that are going on in my head, because as kids and growing up, and then from the conversation that you and I had, you were in the military, like I can only imagine what you went through, but I'm sure that the military did not want to hear when you were sick or when you were hurting or whatever. It was just get up and do your job. And the music industry is the same way, man. It's like they don't care about your feelings. They don't care that somebody that you love passed away in your in your life or whatever, man. You got a concert to do tonight. You know what I mean? So that was that was something that we had to deal with, and compartmentalizing everything is not healthy mentally, and you have to have an outlet, and you have to figure out a way to balance how to not cry about everything, but at the same time be open enough to express yourself. And that's where the therapy comes into place for me, man. So going back to Donny Hathaway, he was from what I've read and what I understand, I think a lot of people diagnose him as being schizophrenic, and that was something that needs to be highlighted, and I just feel like if I had done that role, I think I would definitely do it justice. And I definitely would have enjoyed the experience, and I really feel like it would have opened up a whole lot of doors and a whole lot of conversations. Man, I may even readdress it, man. I may even bring it back up somewhere. But yeah, Donny Hathaway.
Yeah, Donny definitely needs a story, and that's my signature question that I ask all my talent when I interview them is about the biopic, and the answer is usually always Donny Hathaway, Prince, or Michael Jackson. But Donny Hathaway is the standard, and it's always for the same reasons you just mentioned about the mental illness and the mental health, because it's such a seen as a stigma in the black community, especially for us as black men. You know, you just have to kind of understand that people have problems and they go through stuff. So that's why, I make it a personal habit to text all the homies at least, once a day or every other day. Like, just do a homie check-in, make sure you're okay. I mean, there's so many ways to contact people in 2020 for you not to reach out to somebody that you care about. And,
right.
Just let it, you're checking on.
Absolutely.
Do you ever have plans to write a book about your musical career?
I do. We have to be specific and figure out exactly what we can and what we can't say, because one of the things that we had to figure out and sign in the contract to get out of the deal with Bad Boy to go to Def Jam was a confidentiality clause. So I have to figure out exactly what can and cannot be said. But yeah, I would definitely love to write a book, because I'm not a dude that dwells on the negative anyway. So even if there was something that, I could speak on or whatever, man, just for the sake that, it happened over 20 years ago, it's like nobody wants to revisit stuff like that, man. And financially I'm not hurting at all, so I don't need to do, anything that's controversial. So I would definitely like to do a book, if I did one, that was more truth than actually, trying to bait people into getting the book, for I guess the whatever the sexy moment is at that time, man. So yeah, I would love to do a book, man. I would really love to do a book and just give my honest opinion about what I felt happened, and but still feel like there's some more pages to be written as far as this 112 story is concerned, because now Slim and I are going on this journey where we have to prove all over again to the world that have their preconceived notions of who we are, that we're able to be successful with the two of us and not us being four. So that's a journey in and of itself, man. And when I tell you that this is one of the most challenging obstacles that I have ever faced in my life, man, it's not a game, bro. For the last couple of years, he and I have been we've been the butt of many jokes. We have been ostracized. We've been criticized by our peers and Black America, and telling us that we're stupid and you should get it together, and as if it was just something that could be easily put together like that and stuff, man. So we've dealt with our fair share of ridicule with this project, and we still with this journey that we're going on, and we've still been able to keep our head above water. The bills are still getting paid. We're still able to do the things that we love to do, and we still are doing shows. I mean, outside of this coronavirus, and so we've been proving everybody right, man. But something needs to happen to where the world acknowledges the fact that, hey, these guys are the real deal, regardless if it's 2 or if it's 15 of them. These guys are the real deal, and 112 is a brand to be reckoned with. And we won't stop until, the world realizes that. And I hope with this EP that it starts to catapult us and put us in that frame of mind and that energy, man, because it's something that I'm honestly, I know you can hear the frustration in my voice, but more than anything, man, because I'm a dude. You tell me that I can't do something, man, and that just fuels my fire, man. Like, what do you mean I can't do it? You know what I mean? So that's something that's in my genome again, man, and I just want to prove to the world, prove to myself, that this is something that we can do and we will do it.
Well, just from a fan standpoint, I've seen the jokes and everything, the whole 56 thing, and you can't call yourselves 112. I'm like, and I'm a big defender of R&B groups, and just a big defender of R&B in general on social media. When I go back and forth with the homies, and like I tell folks, I'm like, what I don't understand is, like, they're artists, but they're also men at the same day. And we don't know what's going on, inside these brothers' personal lives. We don't know what's going on inside their, their mindset. But, you still have some members of 112 doing their thing, and they're out here giving you guys some kind of show. And, I interviewed Q, not to, call it rip, but I interviewed Q a couple months ago, and just hearing Q talk, it was just, he's doing his own thing. Now, he's on a different type of journey than yourself, Slim, and Deron. It's like, I can't knock that because that brother's out here doing his own thing. But you still have Mike and Slim keeping the brand alive. Just like with New Edition, how you have Johnny and Ralph doing their solo thing now. Last year, BBD and Bobby went out on tour as RBRM. Hell of a show, like a good show. That was my son's first concert. He had a ball. And, too often in the black community, when it comes to R&B groups, we only focus on the negative, and we're quick to make a meme, quick to make a joke. But, like, you never know what's really going on behind closed doors or what somebody's, really, truly going through. So instead of making a joke, go out there and support.
Absolutely.
Another group right now is Drew Hill. Drew Hill is Cisco and, Smoke and Black from Play It, and, personally knowing Smoke and talking to Smoke, I'm like, yo, man, these brothers can sing their asses off. But it's still Drew Hill, but it's just Cisco and the other two guys. And once again, we don't know what is going on internally, but here I am, you see Nokio, you see Jazz, you see the other members who were not in Drew Hill anymore, still promoting R&B, still doing their thing. So instead of complaining what they're not doing, support their projects they have on now. It's still a part of the Drew Hill brand. If you claim to be a fan, support it, or at least give it a listen. Then, if you don't like it, by all means, go ahead and be negative. But until you've actually heard what they got to say, then don't be a negative Norman or a negative Nancy. Like, I understand how you guys were. Slim brought up a good point in an interview I saw maybe last year when he said the reason why you guys have two dancers on stage is because the choreography that the fans know requires 4 people. So it's yourself and Slim, and then you guys have the 2 background dancers just to make the stage better as a 4-man show. So, I mean, keep doing what you're doing, and I can say as a fan, like, whatever you and Slim want to do right now, I'm going to support the same thing. If Deron drops his solo stuff, I support it. Whatever Q's doing, I'm going to support because, I rock with 112, but I also rock with R&B. And, all these arguments on R&B being dead, we got to support it. It's not dead. It's just that we're not supporting it. So that's my little quick tangent. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent in your interview, but I just wanted to let you know that, you still got a fan in me, and there's plenty of 112 fans out there that follow me that are on my platforms. So,
I appreciate that, brother.
Once the COVID is over, what can fans expect from Mike the solo artist and Mike the 112 member?
Solo-wise, man, I don't foresee me doing anything solo right now because I don't want the world to get confused with what we're trying to accomplish now. Slim and myself are trying to accomplish now. He and I, like Slim has had several offers to do a solo project, but, he and I had a conversation, and we decided that the best thing to do right now is to reestablish the 112 brand as Slim and Mike, and like you said, the 2, background dancers, and so the world can get familiar and start, because there's a lot of people that are still acting as if they don't realize that, 112 is only 2 members right now. Like, there's a lot of people, man, that hits me on Instagram or social media, the whole 9, and will tag me and tag these other the other 2 dudes, and they're, not that I, have an issue with that, but at the same time, there are a lot of people that really are walking around like in a daze, trying to forget the fact that it's only, 2 members of the group right now, man, and I feel like that is the best course of action for us to reestablish the group first. Once we do that, then, the sky's the limit at that point. We can do solo projects if that's what you want to do, Slim wants to do. But the thing is, with it being 2 members in the group now, putting out this product, where I'm able to get my solo rocks off, basically. You know what I mean? The only reason why I would do a solo project at this point is because financially I just want to make more money than I would if I was doing it with Slim. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the only reason why I would do a solo project at this point, because with this new EP, I'm able to do vocally whatever I want to do at this point. It's not 3 other guys that I'm trying to, find my niche in between. It's one other guy, and it's already established that he's the lead singer. So he's going to do the majority of that, and I'm fine with that. Where I come in is I'm his Scottie Pippen, to his Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? It's like I come in and I do a number of things, but I bring in that other influence that if you want to hear something else from 112, and that's where that player, that missing you, that don't hate me vibe, saying it comes from, man. So I'm able to get my quote unquote solo energy out with this EP and the iteration of 112 as it is right now. So I'm satisfied as far as like where I am with that. What we got to do now is reestablish this new 112, for people, and and I feel like we're doing that now with this EP.
Is there anything you'd like to add? Where can fans find you on social media?
Where you can find me on social media is I do a lot of stuff on Instagram. And here's the thing. My personal page is really about me doing all kind of silly stuff, man. So if you want to laugh, yeah, you can go to my page, and it's Michael Keith of 112. That's MICHAELKEITH of 112. But if you want a lot of 112 video, us performing, us just being in the mix with other celebrities while we're on the road and whatnot, then you go to the official 112 on Instagram. So that's the official 112 on Instagram. If you want just strictly 112 information, but if you want to follow me personally, it's Michael Keith of 112. That's MICHAELKEITH of 112.
All right, folks. That's it for my interview with Michael Keith. I hope you all enjoyed hearing from Mr. Keith, member of 112. I learned a lot about this brother, and I feel it was a lively conversation. As I stated, and as I always state, R&B is not dead, folks. You just have to get out there and support it. So be on the lookout for the Slim and Mike EP, and also if you can track down Mike's solo album, check it out. It's a very, very dope project. I'm going to close the interview out with a quote by the legendary Duke Ellington. A problem is a chance for you to do your best. Peace and blessings. And until the next time, Dunn out.